The dance of light and darkness. I was going to be talking to this morning. When we think of dancing, we don't think of partners being in opposition to each other or fighting with each other. And yet in this culture, what do we look like? It's like the fight of good and evil and light and dark and all of this drama about it. Maybe we've got this confused. Maybe because we're programmed to see light and we don't have very good vision in the dark, that we have this whole psychological basement of our dark wishes, desires, feelings, conclusions, and we put them in the basement. We put our shame in the basement. We put our fears, our unconscious demons in the basement. We don't go down there. But if you've ever gone down in the basement, sometimes there's some gold down there. There's some really cool things that we've forgotten about. And that when we find them, they're actually treasures. So if we get anything out of today's talk, the light and the dark are not in opposition to each other. It's a dance. It's the yin and yang of life. It's the ebb and flow. If you think of the inhale and the exhale, is the inhale better or in opposition to the exhale? They're both needed. This planet, unless it spun like a rotisserie, we would overheat and fry on one side, and the other side we'd freeze to death. It's really important that we have this change. Yet, with our programming, we're afraid of the dark because our imagination takes us away. And we should be more afraid of our imagination than the actual dark. When you found yourself really frightened and realized, oh, that snake in the road was just a rope, or what I heard in the bushes was nothing. It was just a bird rustling. Go up to Quincy. There's a family camp up there. And at night, when the family has gone to bed, I take my chair and I walk about a quarter mile up the tracks out of the woods into a clearing, because the tracks are this big clearing, and I look up and I see the Milky Way. I can hear the night sounds, and it's wonderful to simply be quiet. And I feel really at ease and at peace, except when I hear an unfamiliar sound. And if you've ever been alone deep in the woods all by yourself and you hear something that sounds big, and my first thought, well, that's a moose. Well, there are no moose up there in Tahoe. There's bears. And I'm hearing this crashing and crunching, and it's like, oh, okay. So everything is on high alert. That's the way the system's designed. It's doing its job. Except I'm terrified and I want to run, which is the wrong thing to do if there's a real bear. So that thought comes up. And what if I were just to stay and to remain silent and to be with my fear? To go to the basement of my fear. Because what is the ultimate basement of all of our fears is really the fear of unknown. And what is death but the unknown? And we go right, if we follow the thread all the way down, it's the fear of the unknown of death, or the fear of the pain that might precede death. So knowing that at an intellectual level, I'm talking to the body's not having any part of it. The body is saying, get out of here, turn your light on, go. And I'm going, no, I'm going to stay. Because there's something what I know about riptides and whirlpools, all part of nature. If you've ever been caught in a riptide, and I know probably some of you have, it takes you right out and you can't swim against it. You can try, but you're going out. The only way to escape is to paddle over to the side, and hopefully you'll paddle your way out the side. Same for a whirlpool. Whirlpool takes you at the top of the whirlpool. It's the most powerful, and then it takes you down, and the farther down you go, it dissipates. So when we enter the cave of our fear, at the beginning, between the light and the dark, it's the heaviest, it's the most frightening. When we explore our inner fears, our shadow sides, the entry point is the most frightening. Once we get into it, it's almost never as bad as what we imagine at the beginning. And so I'm being with my imaginary bear, and I'm sitting in my chair, shaking. And what is this? This is my imagination trying to keep me safe. It's doing its job. Why should I be afraid of that? I don't see a bear. What is really going on? And so there's a relaxation and realizing that I survived my imaginary bear attack and I'm here to talk about it. This is gold. I realized that if I did stay, if I went down into the whirlpool, then I can find the gold of my own courage, the gold of my strength, also the gold of my curiosity, because we don't enter our dark caves without being curious. Hopefully within our lives, we'll come to a point where we'll have that curiosity where we want to know what's in the cave. We want to know what's in our basement. The spiritual counselor, when we find ourselves in that dark space, in our shadow, in our fear, when we're found there, the spiritual counselor that we invite in has a certain point of view. Will take us and guide us to safety and into the light. Nothing wrong with that. There are times for that. But there's also times when we need a master. And the master comes into the cave, sort of storming into the cave, saying, "Come here," grabs our hand and leads us deeper into our cave, into our own darkness. Because it's where we find what we're truly made of. We think of the yin and yang of it. The light is the male. The yin is the female. It's that dark, mysterious quality of birth and the soil and it's where, in a sense, life, all of life comes from this mystery into the light. But it begins in darkness. And so what if we what treasures do we have that we've placed in our basement? What are those treasures? That perhaps when we reacquainted ourselves with them, we come back to ourselves. And maybe that's where our true freedom lies, is when we explore our own darkness. That doesn't sound appealing at all. But we're really exploring our relationship to life, to the moment, and to our passing. The fact that this is constantly changing. And for most people, and I know for me, for so many years, I wanted no part of it. I didn't want to know. I wanted full solar spirituality, bright light. I wanted Disneyland. I wanted a fun ride. And don't we all? We love that. But for every sugar high, there's that sugar crash. And maybe, just maybe, there's some gold in that dark area. When we think of the spiritual masters, they all had it easy. No one struggled. Jesus, Buddha, no problem. Even Muhammad, no problem. Never struggled. No, Buddha almost killed himself. Jesus, yes, he died. There were immense struggles. They went into their darkness. There was a curiosity there. These were the brave ones. And so it's great to have spiritual sunny days. But for every sunny day, there is the opposite of that. Because the light and the dark are one side of the coin. They are inseparable. Just like a magnet has got a north and a south pole, you cut off the south pole, throw it away, and now you've got two magnets. A north and a south pole will appear on the broken piece, and the south will grow on the other side. Inseparable. This is part of nature. So, with that, St. John of the Cross says, when we are most vulnerable, we are most available to graced moments. When we are open, truly open, we're most available to the universe flooding in. And then we ask, well, what are graced moments? And St. John of the Cross will say, all that happens. Grace is truly all that happens. We think it's something good. No, it's all that happens. That's a very profound understanding. That's somebody that knows the light and the dark, that is comfortable with the dark. And so I'm going to conclude with this story of the warrior and Bodhidharma, the Zen master. And Bodhidharma was the first, he was Indian, and he came to China to spread Zen. And he was one of these fierce guys. He's always depicted, if you see these hangings, spiritual hangings, the guy with the bulging eyebrows and the scruffy beard, just looking crazy with a big staff. That's Bodhidharma. He is a legend, 5th century. And there was a warrior, and he was one of the most powerful warriors at the time. And fearless, absolutely fearless, except his imagination, his thinking, his thoughts, his mind were troublesome, very troublesome. And in that, he was getting no peace. And so he was looking for an answer, somebody that could help him, really help him with his mind, to put his mind at rest, at ease, so he could sleep. He could do everything else except be at ease with himself. So he goes to Bodhidharma and asks, and Bodhidharma says, no, I'm not going to help you. And he says, please, I really need help with this mind. Okay, I'll help you. Only if you leave your sword at home and you come up the mountain at 4 o'clock in the morning to the bamboo grove at the top and bring your mind. Don't forget, bring your mind. So this very fierce warrior goes, holy, what am I gotten into here? No sword. There's animals on the mountain. I don't think so. And so he wrestles with himself, and he knows he's going to do it. And he's fearful. And for this tough warrior to be fearful of what he doesn't know, because he's been into battle. He's really frightened this time. And as he starts climbing up in the dark, hearing the sounds, being alone, because he's always with this group of guys, and he's alone with himself. He's frightened. And he's frightened of what he doesn't know or what might happen if he finds out something about himself. See, we're more frightened of what we don't know. So he gets up there. I see you've come. Have you brought your mind? Well, no, I go inside and find it and show it to me. And the warrior goes, okay, sit. And he stamps his big stick, sit. And so he sits and he goes inside, and this is entering the whirlpool. And he can see his thoughts spinning. Where is my mind? Where is my mind? I can't find anything. And he's spinning, and time goes by, and the spinning starts to slow. And he still hasn't found his mind, but he's finding something else. He's finding the quiet of the night and the beginning of the early songbird starting to sing. And he can smell the forest. And he can also hear the rustle of the bamboo. And he starts to sway with the bamboo. Something in him is changing. Something is healing inside him. In looking for his mind, there was nothing to be found. And at the first light of dawn, Bodhidharma, in a voice as sweet and as soft as a mother talking to a newborn, he asks them, have you found your mind? And he bows and says, thank you so much. You have put my mind to rest forever. I could not find it. Powerful story. What is it when we go and really, really look to what our fears are? What do we find? We always find ourselves okay in the moment. We're always okay in the moment. Even in the midst of our suffering and pain and fear, we're still okay in the moment. And he discovered that the mind he couldn't find. He could find the imagination. He could find thoughts that came and went, but he couldn't find the source. And he was no longer afraid of it. He was now comfortable with his own darkness. He had found peace. And so perhaps the whole journey is to find that kind of peace, is to go and to find that gold that the warrior found. Perhaps that's our charge. And if we're curious enough, we will embark on that journey. So let us pray. Let us take a breath together, feeling the inhale and the exhale. And again, and the simple quiet of being in this moment, knowing that there is nothing in opposition to this moment. There is no opposing light and dark. It simply is the flow, the generous flow of life. And we know that life is a dance and to be danced. So I claim that we have the courage to explore our darkness, not knowing the outcome, but trusting that gold will be found. And so we invite others to simply hold our hands as we courageously go into our own inner being, that being that knows no distinction, that being within that is inseparable from the divine, from the beloved, from that which we are and always have been. For this I give thanks, and so it is.